The quiet cracks. In a quiet suburban neighborhood of Charleston, South Carolina, lived Emma Dawson, a 33-year-old kindergarten teacher with honey blonde hair and soft green eyes. She was the kind of woman who could make anyone feel at ease, always with a warm smile and calm presence. Her husband, Ryan Dawson, was a successful real estate agent, more focused on commission checks and social media promotions than his marriage. Their life, from the outside, looked picture-perfect: a charming 2-story house, Sunday BBQs, and the occasional getaway to Myrtle Beach. But behind the curated Instagram posts and polite smiles, the foundation of their relationship had begun to quietly erode. Ryan worked long hours, often coming home late, exhausted and distracted. When he was home, he spent more time glued to his phone than asking Emma how her day went. He had stopped noticing the small things, like how she always set out his favorite coffee mug, or how she curled her hair for him every Sunday. It wasn't that Ryan was cruel. He wasn't abusive or mean. He had simply checked out. And Emma, slowly but surely, was becoming invisible in her own marriage. Part 2: The New Arrival. Everything began to shift the day the new neighbors moved in, just across the street. A U-Haul parked one sunny Saturday morning, and by noon, Emma watched from behind the curtains as a tall, broad-shouldered man in military fatigues stepped out of the truck. He was carrying a box marked "Kitchen" in one hand and a German shepherd's leash in the other. Her heart skipped. She went outside under the pretense of checking the mailbox, timing it perfectly. As she neared the edge of her driveway, their eyes met. He smiled, a real, warm, open smile, and she felt something stir inside her she hadn't felt in years. "Hey there. I'm Jake Carter," he said, walking over with confidence. "Just moved in. Retired Army captain. This here is Max." He gave the leash a tug and the shepherd sat obediently. "I'm Emma Dawson. Welcome to the neighborhood," she replied, trying to sound casual, but something in her voice trembled. Jake was everything Ryan wasn't: attentive, grounded, and calm. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed more often. Sometimes by accident, sometimes not. He'd help her carry groceries. She'd bring over homemade pie. He'd ask about her work, listen, really listen, and laugh at her silly stories about the kids in her class. It was innocent. At first. The spark. One rainy afternoon, Emma stood under her porch watching the thunder roll in. Jake jogged across the street in a hoodie, soaked, and called out, "Power's out at my place. Any chance I could bum a flashlight?" She hesitated for half a second before stepping aside. "Come in." He stood in her kitchen, shaking off his wet sleeves, looking completely at ease. "You okay?" he asked, noticing the faraway look in her eyes. Emma nodded. "Just tired." He tilted his head, watching her. "You ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you followed a script, did everything right, and somehow, it still feels wrong?" She blinked, the words hitting deeper than he could have known. "That's exactly how it feels," she whispered. They didn't speak for a moment. The only sound was rain beating on the roof and Max's soft breathing on the floor. When she looked up, Jake was closer. Not touching, not yet. But close enough to feel the warmth of his body. Close enough to smell the faint leather of his jacket, the rain on his skin. "I'd never make you feel invisible," he said softly. And just like that, something snapped. Their lips met. The kiss was slow, unsure at first, like both were testing the reality of it. But as the storm raged outside, something inside Emma burned hotter. She didn't stop it. She didn't want to. When Jake finally pulled back, breathing heavy, his eyes searched hers. "We don't have to pretend this didn't happen," he said. "But I don't want to be a secret, Emma. I've spent too many years hiding from what I really wanted. I won't do it again." Her throat tightened. The weight of her marriage, her guilt, her longing, it all hit at once. "I don't know what I'm doing," she admitted. Jake reached out, brushing a damp strand of hair from her face. "Then figure it out. But don't lie to yourself anymore." Hard truths, soft goodbyes. The divorce wasn't ugly. Surprisingly, Ryan didn't fight. He moved into a downtown apartment within a month and only came back to pick up his things when Emma was at work. No drama. No screaming matches. Emma cried a lot that first week. Guilt sat heavy in her chest. Not just for what she'd done with Jake, but for letting herself settle for so long. Jake didn't pressure her. In fact, he kept his distance, waiting for her to come to him on her terms. It was 2 weeks after Ryan left that she finally knocked on Jake's door. He opened it, surprised but calm. "Emma." She stepped inside. "I'm not here to explain. Or justify. I'm here because I want to start again. With you." Jake didn't say anything. Instead, he pulled her into a long, silent hug. It said everything. They didn't rush. Jake took her out to small diners, quiet beaches, even introduced her to his army buddies at a cookout. Emma saw a side of life she'd never had before. Filled with honesty, depth, and quiet resilience. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was disappearing. She felt rooted. Alive. One evening, as they watched Max chase birds on the shore of Folly Beach, Jake turned to her. "I know you've been through hell. I'm not trying to fix you. But if you ever want to build something real, I'm here." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "So am I." Part 6. A New Kind of Love. A year passed. Emma still taught kindergarten. She loved her job more than ever now. Kids reminded her how important it was to feel, to express joy, sadness, and everything in between. Jake opened a small gym in town for veterans transitioning to civilian life. He was good with people. Gentle, firm, and loyal. His story, filled with combat scars, leadership, and loss, connected with others. They didn't rush into marriage. There was no need. They were both older, wiser, more careful. What they shared was based not on fantasy, but on choice. A conscious, daily decision to see each other. Hear each other. Sometimes, Emma still felt the sting of guilt. But she had also learned something powerful. Staying in a broken marriage to avoid pain only created more pain. She had loved Ryan. Once. But they'd grown apart, and she had clung to a version of love that no longer existed. With Jake, it was different. One summer evening, as the sky turned amber over their porch swing, Jake looked at her and said, "You saved me, you know. I thought I'd never have this, a home, someone to care about me not because I wore a uniform, but because of who I am." Emma smiled. "And you helped me find myself again." They sat in silence, hands clasped, hearts full. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was better, it was real. The end.